All right, here's our Twitter question of the day. A lot of talk around town about Demaryius Thomas skipping Peyton Manning's camp at Duke. So the question is this: is it a big deal that DT is going to miss it, or is this much ado about nothing?
He was never going to go, in my opinion. Once he was franchised, the only leverage he has is to not sign a contract. You could argue this is separate of the team. It's for his quarterback. But he's done it in the past. He's not completely healthy in his mind. And he's not going to do anything at this point to risk injury before July 15th when he has to officially sign his tender, or at that point be considered a holdout and then start getting fined. Everything until then is optional. Do I think it's a big deal he's missing Duke? I do not. I really don't. I think the Duke thing at this point is not that big of a deal. But if he starts missing in June when they're putting in Kubiak's offense, that could have set him back a few weeks if he's not there for the installation of the offense.
I mean, what I'm hearing from other people, and we talked about it on our radio show yesterday on Mile High Sports Radio, my co-hosts yesterday were Will Peterson and Josh Pennick. Both of them questioned Demaryius Thomas's commitment, saying, I can understand why you're not showing up for, OTAs because you're trying to stick it a little bit to John Elway. But Peyton Manning took a $4 million pay cut for you, or took a $4 million pay cut for the team, and you're not going out there and helping him, trying to make the team better?
Yeah, I don't get really excited about that Duke thing. To me, it's a non-starter. They're not running their offense. It's a timing issue. Peyton has his timing with Demaryius. Demaryius isn't changing. It's not like he's coming off some significant injury where they need to see who he... Demaryius Thomas is one of the most talented players in the NFL. The only issue for me is when it gets to June, Eric, if he doesn't know the offense and it sets him back. And the bigger issue, and I was talking with Greg Moore, our wonderful big editor here, he's in charge of everything.
Would he be a guy who would be roasting you?
Greg, I would like him to.
Because I don't know Greg.
Greg's a good guy. I don't know. I've seen people more in the last month here than I have in 15 years.
Right.
Because I had never come into the office.
And those people have told me that they're not happy about it.
They're not happy about it.
No, they're not at all.
But I was telling Greg, the one thing it does concern me, which is a legitimate concern by fans, Eric, DT is a sensitive guy. We saw how the first game of the season last year, whether he wants to say the contract or not, he was impacted mentally by the way the whole thing played out. Now he's going to come into camp again, possibly, we're not 100%, possibly without a contract. How will that affect his performance? And that is a real concern, given how his first game went last year and how his playoff game went. He looked like a guy with a lot on his mind that had trouble compartmentalizing.
Yeah.
And so if he goes into the season without a contract, that's a legitimate concern for Bronco fans on what will his performance be.
When you say a contract, you're saying he signs the franchise tag?
If he doesn't have a long term, he's going to sign. If he wants to play, he has to sign the tender, $12.83 million. That's what they'd like to pay him over a long-term contract. He wants Calvin Johnson money,
right?
$15 million. I don't know that they can get there, and he also wants, probably based on what I've heard and what Des Bryant is asking, Demaryius would want $30 million guaranteed.
Right.
I don't know if the Broncos get there with him.
But can you understand why Broncos fans are upset with him? Meaning this, they watched what happened in the Colts game where he's missing blocks, he's dropping passes. Then he says on Pro Football Talk, you know what, we really didn't want to go to Foxborough. So we saw on the field, it didn't look like you had much of a commitment. Then we hear from you, you don't have much of a commitment. Now you're not showing up for Manning's camp. That's not much of a commitment. Can you understand the fans' frustration with him saying, how committed is this guy? And do we really even want this guy on the team, no matter how talented he is?
I understand it, but when he's 6'4", 6'5", 230 pounds with about 3% body fat, I don't know how you question a guy's commitment. He's in shape. He's ready to play. He's a big guy who gets hit a lot. And he's physical. He plays the game in a physical manner. He's made big plays, whether it was with Tebow, whether it was with Orton, whether it was with Manning. Statistically, over the last 3 years, he's arguably the best receiver in the National Football League. You can pinpoint those specific examples, Eric. You can say the Chiefs early in the season against the Colts and late against the Colts. He was awful. Those were bad games.
Right.
But questioning the commitment, I'm not there yet. I would have to. Did he have bad games? Absolutely. I'm not there on questioning commitment.